Another question I want to just bring up, because I know from all my experience talking to people here and journalists around the world, if you're not from the Middle East or South Asia, you feel like you're being totally ignored. You know, very little attention paid to Latin America, to Africa, to the rest of Asia, to Eastern Europe, former Soviet Union. I mean, we know why those issues don't come up, because Americans tend not to be all that interested in foreign policy, except maybe where it concerns our troops, war, that kind of thing. But can you talk a little bit about those issues? Have they come up at all? Should we see any change in attention paid to other parts of the world, depending on who's elected?
I think one change that you will see continue probably under either administration is this pivot that the Obama administration has begun to move towards Asia, both from a security and diplomatic sense, as more of a strategic sort of anchor point. Sadly, that has not come up in any great degree within the campaign, but probably is one of the most important things that President Obama has done. We have to presume that Romney would continue that. The other thing that I think remains a little bit unanswered, as many things do with Romney, is his odd fixation with Russia. And this has waned a little bit in recent months, but during the primary campaign he was fairly consistent about listing Russia as one of the key geopolitical, he'll argue with the wording, but I think the meaning was clear, threats that the United States face, which no one quite understood, including a number of leading foreign policy voices within the Republican Party. He had the opportunity to knock that down on Monday night, and he didn't, and I think it was more that he had a canned line that he wanted to use against the president, which he did. So I think that's something to watch. I don't need to tell the people in this room that's a very volatile relationship. One that the Obama team came in, felt that it was really a mess, have gone to what they've called reset. You can certainly argue about the results of that. I think with either administration you would certainly see in a case-by-case basis a decision to facilitate in whatever way, whether it's with money, in some cases whether it's with arms. I think that would be rare. Rebel democratic forces, whatever you want to call them in other countries. But I don't know enough about sort of the overall policies of either side to really go beyond that.
A phenomenon, too, that we see whenever the United States becomes supportive of any, whatever you want to call it, oppositional movement in any country against their regime, is that the regime then uses that identification of the United States with their opponents to make it appear that their opponents are tools of the United States, and that, say, for example, in Tehran, when people were marching in the street, they were characterized by the regime as being puppets of America and so forth, or of the West, which often means America, not always, but in this particular case certainly did. So that the animosity that many people, not everyone, but many people in these countries have toward the United States is then used to delegitimize the opposition to the government. And we could see that in any number of different countries where movements would otherwise, arise. And also, just in terms of the things that Romney says, it's always better politics in the United States to be for anything that's being called a liberation movement anywhere in the world, right up to the moment where it succeeds. And then, of course, you hear people talking about whether or not we threw Mubarak under the bus.
Right.
After everyone was, calling him a tyrant and a horrible man, and now we hear people criticizing the Obama administration for throwing him under the bus. And we've seen that in any number of countries on every continent in the world.